The Galactic Council's emergency session was a swirling storm of outrage, confusion, and outright panic. In the middle of it, Representative XYX-7 from the Arachnid Coalition waved four spindly limbs while furiously typing with the others. Absolutely intolerable, XYX-7 hissed, their mandibles clicking in unison. These humans actively consume substances that burn their sensory organs, and they call it spicy. Enough, High Chancellor Melith intoned, their crystalline body glowing faintly blue with exasperation. This is about their survival abilities, not their culinary madness. Survival? Ambassador Plib, a gelatinous blob with semi-sentient bubbles, interjected. They willingly expose themselves to toxic radiation to preserve food. They drink poison for fun and call it, what is it again? Alcohol, Melith said dryly. The room buzzed with horror. One gaseous entity temporarily condensing into a smaller blob out of sheer shock. They come from a Class 12 Deathworld, Melith reminded them. A holographic display of Earth shimmered into view. Roiling oceans, violent storms, erupting volcanoes. Their planet tries to kill them daily. And yet they thrive. And they write poetry about it, barked Counselor Vlar, sparks flying from their antennae. Melith let the murmurs settle. Ladies, gentlemen, and plasma-based life forms, we face a grave threat. These humans have survived extinction-level events, predators, and geological chaos. Now they're mastering genetic modification, artificial intelligence, and quantum physics. They're unstoppable. So what do? Someone asked nervously. Melith's facets sparkled with a sinister brilliance. We send them to Terminus, a Class 15 death world. A planet so hostile, it will surely break them. Its atmosphere rains diamonds, its terrain is alive, and its predators. Counselor Vlar gasped. The ones the size of moons? Precisely. Exile the humans there, and nature will do the rest. The council voted unanimously, blissfully unaware of the human diplomat's assistant silently recording the session. Her calm demeanor barely masked the smirk tugging at her lips. Good morning, colonists. Captain Dana Patel's voice rang across the intercom of the colony's ship as it descended into Terminus' stormy atmosphere. The weather forecast is certain death with a side of doom. Buckle up. The ship shuddered as diamond shards rained down like artillery. Behind them, the Galactic Council's escort fleet turned tail and fled at full warp, leaving humanity to face its supposed doom. Funny how eager they were to abandon us, Lieutenant Grant muttered. They think they've won, Patel said, grinning. Let's show them how wrong they are. The first landing was chaos incarnate. Gale force winds nearly toppled their craft, and the ground, a swirling mix of crystalline growth and carnivorous plants, seemed to pulse with malevolence. That's one small step for humanity, Chief Engineer Clara Wong quipped, planting a makeshift flag. One giant leap into this nightmare. Within hours, the team had encountered their first local wildlife, a massive, armored beast with plasma-spewing spines. It shrugged off their bullets and energy weapons like an irritated rhino batting flies. Plan B, yelled Private Jace Thompson, improvising a tripwire from spare cable. As the creature tumbled into a crystalline ravine, Thompson added, note to self, gravity still works. Survival on Terminus became a masterclass in human ingenuity. They discovered that the diamond storms, while deadly, could be harnessed. Engineer Cooper rigged their shields to convert storm energy into power. It's like having a homicidal solar panel, she explained cheerfully. The settlers turned carnivorous plants into makeshift food sources and built fortifications from the very crystals that sought to impale them. Within weeks, their settlement, dubbed Murphy's Landing, was a fortress of innovation. Here's the thing, Wong explained to a new wave of colonists. They thought Terminus would kill us. Instead, it's making us stronger. Every challenge became an opportunity. Plasma-spine creatures, tamed as walking tanks. Hostile storms, harvested for power. Predators the size of moons, repelled with human-made weapons cobbled together from wreckage and alien materials. 6 months later, the Galactic Council reconvened to celebrate their supposed victory. They've probably devolved into feral tribes by now, HFY-7 gloated. A live feed from Terminus shattered their delusions. Instead of ruins, Murphy's landing thrived. Humans in sleek exosuits marched alongside tamed predators, their settlements shimmering with harvested crystal energy. Massive cannons lined their perimeter, aimed not inward, but outward. The human ambassador leaned forward, a dangerous smile on her lips. We'd like to thank the Council for their generosity. Terminus is a treasure trove. And now, we're ready for interstellar expansion. The Council chamber erupted in panic. What have we done? Melith whispered, her glow dimming. You created a superpower, the ambassador said, standing. See you soon. As she left, the Council sat in stunned silence, realizing that by exiling humanity, they had unwittingly set the stage for their own downfall. Humanity didn't just survive Terminus. They conquered it. And now, they were coming for the stars. The Galactic Council's fears weren't misplaced. 6 months after humanity had been exiled to Terminus, Murphy's Landing wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. And as the humans always said, offense is the best defense. High Chancellor Melith's crystalline core pulsed erratically as emergency alerts flashed across the chamber's holographic displays. Report, Melith demanded, their voice resonating with alarm. Ambassador Plib, now more a puddle than a blob, quivered. They've launched ships, Chancellor. Human ships. Melitha's glow dimmed. Impossible. Terminus was supposed to break them. Well, it didn't, barked Counselor Vlar, sparks crackling from their antennae. They're broadcasting something on all frequencies. Put it through. The room fell silent as a hologram materialized in the center. A human figure appeared. Captain Dana Patel, clad in a sleek, reflective combat suit. Behind her, the backdrop was unmistakably Terminus. Glowing crystalline towers, massive tamed beasts, and a sky alive with diamond storms that somehow bent around their structures. To the esteemed Galactic Council, Patel began, her tone icy. We bring you greetings from Terminus. Or, as we call it, New Genesis. Melith's core flickered nervously. You sent us to die, Patel continued, pacing slowly. And in doing so, you gave us everything we needed. Terminus pushed us beyond our limits. It taught us to adapt, to innovate, to overcome. And now, she paused, her calm demeanor underscored by a cold smile. We're coming to repay the favor. The hologram shifted, showing a fleet of newly constructed human ships, sleek, angular, and bristling with unfamiliar weaponry. A low murmur rippled through the chamber. Those are made from Terminus crystals, whispered XYX7. And the plasma signatures, Plib burbled, their bubbles shrinking in fear. They've weaponized the storms. Patel's hologram returned. Here's how this will go. We're not here to destroy you, unless you make it necessary. Humanity will no longer be ignored, dismissed, or confined. We are equal partners in this galaxy. Deny us, and Terminus won't be the only death world you'll face. With that, the transmission cut, leaving the Council in stunned silence. Patel turned away from the comms console on the bridge of the Resolute, their flagship. The ship's walls shimmered with embedded Terminus crystal, the light refracting in dazzling patterns. How'd they take it? Asked Lieutenant Rodriguez, leaning casually against the console. Oh, about as well as you'd expect, Patel replied with a smirk. Panic screaming. Nervous breakdowns. The usual. Do you think they'll fold? Asked Chief Wong, monitoring the ship's power output. They'll try diplomacy, Patel said, settling into her command chair. But let's face it, these aliens don't negotiate out of respect. They only respond to strength. Rodriguez grinned. Lucky for us, that's our specialty. The bridge crew chuckled, but the humor was short-lived. Captain, came Specialist Zhang's voice from the sensor station, her expression grim. We got incoming. Multiple contacts, Council signature. Looks like they're bringing the fight to us. Patel's grin only widened. Finally, I was starting to think they didn't care. The Galactic Council had deployed a fleet of 20 warships, each bristling with advanced weaponry designed to keep lesser species in check. They emerged from hyperspace above Terminus, their hulls gleaming with arrogance. "This is Admiral Zalar of the Galactic Council," a stern voice declared over open comms. "Human vessels, you're ordered to stand down. Submit to Council authority, or face immediate annihilation." On the bridge of the Resolute, Patel raised an eyebrow. "Annihilation? Cute. Orders, Captain?" Rodriguez asked. Patel stood, her voice calm but electric with command. "Open a channel." The comms officer nodded, and Patel addressed the fleet. "Admiral Zalar, welcome to Terminus. You're just in time for a demonstration." Before the Council fleet could react, the Resolute fired. But it wasn't a conventional energy weapon or missile barrage. Instead, a beam of refracted light shot from the ship's prow, slicing through space like a blade. One Council cruiser didn't even have time to maneuver. The beam struck its shields, shattering them instantly before cutting through the hull like butter. The ship exploded in a silent, fiery burst. "What was that?" Zalar's voice crackled, a mixture of shock and fear. "Terminus crystal refractor cannon," Patel replied casually. "Harvests and amplifies the storm energy." "Efficient, isn't it?" The Council fleet scrambled to retaliate, unleashing a barrage of plasma torpedoes and ion bursts. But the human fleet was faster, their ships darting through the chaos like predators. Shields powered by Terminus storms absorbed most of the fire, while their counterattacks were brutal and precise. "Got another one," yelled Rodriguez as a second Council cruiser disintegrated. "Don't get cocky," Patel warned, even as the bridge buzzed with excitement. In less than an hour, half the Council fleet was either destroyed or retreating. The remaining ships regrouped, but didn't press the attack. Instead, they opened a desperate channel. "This is Zalar," the Admiral's voice was strained. We propose a ceasefire." Patel leaned forward, her tone deadly. "A ceasefire? Already? And here I thought you wanted to annihilate us." Zalar stammered. "This is a misunderstanding. Let you what?" Patel interrupted, her voice slicing through like her ship's cannon. "Reorganize? Attack again? I don't think so. We're not playing by your rules anymore, Admiral. Tell your Council this. Humanity doesn't bend. We break through." The shattered remnants of the Council fleet limped back to their territories, spreading word of humanity's devastating new capabilities. Panic gripped the galaxy as species who once dismissed humans as reckless upstarts now saw them as a force of nature. On Terminus, Murphy's Landing had expanded into a city of crystal towers and fortified walls. Colonists worked tirelessly, their progress unstoppable. Patel stood atop the command tower, surveying the bustling activity below. "They'll come again," Rodriguez said, joining her. "Of course they will," Patel replied. "But this time, we're not just defending ourselves. We're building something bigger." "What's the endgame, Captain?" Patel turned, her gaze steely. "We don't just want a seat at the table. We want to reshape the galaxy. No one exiles humanity and gets away with it." Behind her, the Terminus sky crackled with storms, their energy illuminating the human fleet preparing for its next mission. The galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't just adapt to Deathworlds. They thrived. The Galactic Council wasn't about to admit defeat so easily. As panic spread through the galaxy, whispers of a counterstrike began to ripple. If the Council couldn't destroy humanity outright, they would try to sabotage them. Their first target, the newly founded human outpost on Jerry's 4. Far from the chaos of Terminus, Jerry's 4 was an anomaly, a lush, green world on the edge of Council territory. It was a strategic choice for humanity's first expansion, with breathable air, abundant resources, and, crucially, no hostile megafauna trying to eat the colonists. But not everything on Jerry's 4 was as idyllic as it seemed. In the shadow of the central colony hub, a figure moved with practiced precision. Urix 17, a member of the Council's elite espionage unit, slipped into the colony's command center. Their silvery exosuit blended seamlessly with the environment, and their segmented eyes scanned the room for vulnerabilities. Urix's mission was simple: sabotage humanity's operations. The Council couldn't risk another Terminus. One was dangerous enough. Phase 1 complete, Urix murmured into their communicator as they planted a disruptor device near the colony's power core. The device was designed to overload and shut down critical systems, leaving the colony defenseless. But as Yurix turned to leave, a voice crackled through their translator. "Going somewhere?" Yurix froze. Turning slowly, they found themselves face to face with Commander Patel, her combat suit gleaming even in the dim light. "Humans," Yurix hissed, reaching for their weapon. "Always ruining your plans?" Patel quipped, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah, we get that a lot." Before Yurix could react, Patel lunged. What followed wasn't a fight, it was a clinic. Patel's movements were precise, brutal, and efficient, her combat training honed to a razor's edge. In seconds, Yurix was disarmed, their disruptor dismantled, and their communicator crushed under Patel's boot. "Let me guess," Patel said, leaning in. "Council sent you. Cute. Tell them we'll be sending a message of our own." The next day, the skies above Jerry's fort darkened with the arrival of a council fleet. They had underestimated humanity once, and they weren't about to make that mistake again. This time, they sent 40 warships, each equipped with advanced planetary bombardment systems. On the ground, humanity prepared for the worst. The colony's defensive shields hummed with energy, powered by Terminus crystal technology. Engineers worked around the clock, retrofitting what few ships they had into makeshift fighters. In the command center, Patel stood before a holographic display, her expression unreadable. "Status?" Chief Wong shook his head. "Shields are holding for now, but they're throwing everything they've got at us. If those planetary cannons come online, we're toast." "Suggestions?" Patel asked. "Well," Wong hesitated, then smirked. "We could try something stupid." Patel grinned. "My favorite kind of plan. Let's hear it." As the Council fleet intensified their bombardment, they didn't notice the 3 human ships slipping through their formation. These weren't ordinary vessels. They were packed with explosive payloads and piloted by volunteers who knew the risks. Inside the lead ship, Private Thompson adjusted his helmet, a determined gleam in his eye. "This is Crazy Ivan 1, he said over the comms. "Approaching target. Let's show these aliens what stupid really looks like." The human ships plunged directly into the heart of the Council fleet, weaving through a storm of plasma fire. Their target was the command ship, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons. "Almost there," Thompson muttered as his ship's hull groaned under the strain of evasive maneuvers. "Thompson, you're clear." Patel's voice came over the comm. "Get out of there." But Thompson didn't slow down. "Someone's got to press the button," he replied, his tone steady. "Tell my mom I said hi." The comms went silent as Thompson's ship collided with the dreadnought, the explosion ripping through the Council fleet. The resulting shockwave disabled half their ships, and the rest scrambled to retreat. The colonists cheered as the Council fleet vanished into hyperspace. But the mood was somber in the command center. He knew what he was doing, Wong said quietly, placing a hand on Patel's shoulder. "Doesn't make it easier," Patel replied, her voice tight. The colony on Jerry's fort was safe for now, but humanity had learned a harsh lesson. The Council wouldn't stop until humanity was crushed. Back on Terminus, Patel stood before a gathering of humanity's leaders. The room was filled with figures in combat suits, engineers with oil-streaked faces, and scientists clutching data pads. "We can't keep playing defense," Patel began. "The Council thinks they can wear us down. We need to show them that humanity isn't a threat they can contain. We're a force they need to respect, or fear." "What are you suggesting?" Chief Wong asked. Patel's eyes gleamed with determination. "We take the fight to them. Not just battles, strategic strikes. Hit their supply lines. Disrupt their trade routes. Make them see what it feels like to be the ones under siege." The room erupted in murmurs, but one voice cut through the noise. "Agreed." All eyes turned to Dr. Patel, the lead scientist on Terminus. She stepped forward, holding a data pad. "We've been developing something," she said. "A new kind of ship, smaller, faster, and almost impossible to detect. Powered by Terminus crystal technology. If we deploy these strategically, we can cripple the Council without ever engaging them directly." Patel nodded. "Then let's get to work. It's time the galaxy learned what happens when you push humanity too far." As the room buzzed with activity, the lights dimmed, and a hologram of the galaxy appeared. Patel stared at it, her mind racing with possibilities. The galaxy had underestimated humanity once. They wouldn't make that mistake again, but by the time they realized it, it would already be too late. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was a reckoning. The Galactic Council sat in stunned silence, the remnants of their fleet licking their wounds after the disaster at Jerry's 4. The loss of their dreadnought and the crippling of their fleet had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. It wasn't just the tactical defeat. It was the realization that humanity, the species they had tried to exile into obscurity, was no longer a problem to be contained. They were a superpower in the making. High Chancellor Meller, whose crystalline form now carried visible fractures from stress, addressed the council chamber. "This cannot continue," they said, their voice resonating across the room. "Humanity is more dangerous than we ever anticipated. They must be eradicated before they destabilize the galaxy." Ambassador PLB, the gelatinous representative of the Galaxy Union, burbled in agreement. "We have underestimated their adaptability, their creativity and destruction. We must act with precision, or we risk inciting a war we cannot win." "What do you propose?" rumbled Councillor Deseth, their antennae twitching with electromagnetic frustration. A hologram of Terminus appeared in the center of the chamber. "We strike at the heart," Meller said, their crystalline facets darkening. "Terminus is the key to their resurgence. Without it, they lose their technological edge. A surgical strike, total annihilation of their infrastructure. No survivors." On Terminus, Commander Patel stood in the colony's tactical command room, staring at the latest reports. The humans' victory at Jerry's 4 had bought them time, but not peace. Surveillance drones had detected increased council activity on the edges of the system, and the implications were clear. "They're coming," Patel said, her voice calm but firm. Chief Wong leaned over the console, frowning. "And they're not going to send another fleet to lose. They're going to hit us with everything they've got." Patel nodded. "Then we make sure they regret it." Dr. Patel, the lead scientist, stepped forward. Her holographic display lit up with schematics of a device the colonists had been developing in secret. "This is Project Mirror Shield," she said, gesturing to the rotating image of a massive crystalline array. "Using Terminus's unique atmospheric energy and the crystals we've refined, we've created a defense system capable of reflecting and amplifying energy-based attacks." Wong whistled. "So, if they hit us with their big guns, we hit them back, harder," Dr. Patel finished. "It's untested, but we don't have a choice. If we can lure their fleet into range and activate the system, we can turn their own firepower against them." Patel folded her arms. "How long do we have?" "Not long," Dr. Patel admitted. "We've detected hyperspace signatures. They'll be here within 3 days. Then we prepare," Patel said. "Wong, get every engineer on this. I don't care if we have to duct tape this thing together. It needs to work." Wong grinned. "Duct tape? Now you're speaking my language." 3 days later, the council fleet arrived. This wasn't the haphazard assault of Jerry's 4. It was a coordinated armada. Dozens of capital ships filled the skies above Terminus, their sleek designs bristling with weaponry. On the ground, the humans watched in grim silence as the ships descended. "They brought the whole galaxy," muttered Lieutenant Rodriguez, his hands tightening on his rifle. "Good," Patel said, her voice steady. "Saves us the trouble of hunting them down later." The council ships opened fire, unleashing a storm of plasma bolts and energy beams. The shields around the colony held, but barely. The ground shook as explosions ripped through the outer defenses. "Shields at 70%. Wong shouted over the chaos. "We can't take much more of this." "Is the array ready?" Patel demanded. Dr. Patel's voice crackled through the comms. "We're charging it now, but we need more time." "Buy it," Patel said. On her orders, the humans launched their counterattack. Makeshift fighters roared into the skies, their pilots pushing their jury-rigged ships to the limit. They darted through the council fleet, targeting weak points and creating chaos. On the ground, anti-aircraft cannons fired relentlessly, sending volleys of kinetic slugs and improvised missiles into the enemy formation. Inside the command center, Wong's voice was frantic. Array's at 90%. Just a few more minutes. We don't have a few minutes, Patel snapped, watching as a massive Council dreadnought began charging its primary weapon. The energy buildup was visible even from the surface. A brilliant, blinding glow. Doctor, Patel barked in her comm, we need that array now. Almost there, Dr. Patel replied. The dreadnought fired. A searing beam of energy lanced toward the colony, its destructive power enough to vaporize everything in its path. And then it hit the array. The crystalline structure flared to life, absorbing the energy and refracting it into a dazzling display of light. For a moment, it seemed as though the colony would be consumed. Then the beam reversed. The array redirected the energy back toward the Council fleet, amplified tenfold. The resulting explosion tore through the dreadnought, and the shockwave cascaded through the enemy formation. Council ships disintegrated in the blink of an eye, their sleek designs no match for the raw, redirected power. When the smoke cleared, the skies above Terminus were empty. The Council fleet was gone, destroyed or in retreat. In the command center, the humans erupted into cheers, but Patel's expression remained grim. They'll be back, she said. And next time, they won't just send ships. They'll send everything they've got. What do we do now? Wong asked. Patel turned to the holographic map of the galaxy. We stopped waiting for them to come to us, she said. It's time to take the fight to the Council. That night, under the light of Terminus's twin moons, Patel addressed the colonists. We didn't ask for this war, she said, her voice carrying across the settlement. But if the galaxy wants to see us as a threat, then that's what we'll be. We'll show them what humanity is capable of, not just surviving, but thriving. Not just defending, but winning. Cheers erupted from the crowd, their voices filled with determination. In the distance, the remains of the Council fleet smoldered on the horizon, a grim reminder of the price of underestimating humanity. But to the settlers of Terminus, it was more than that. It was a promise. The galaxy had made its move. Now, it was humanity's turn. The Council was reeling. Their latest strategy, suppressing humanity's resurgence by exiling them to Terminus, a world deemed uninhabitable by their most advanced scientific minds, had backfired spectacularly. They had thought the lethal environment would break the human spirit, turn them into a footnote in the galaxy's history. Instead, humanity had turned Terminus into a weapon, a challenge that made them stronger. The fleets sent to destroy them were now mere floating debris in Terminus's toxic skies. The humans had taken what was meant to be their prison and transformed it into a fortress, their ingenuity making the planet work for them instead of against them. Now, humanity was an unstoppable force, their new home, Murphy's Landing, growing at an alarming rate. What had started as a desperate outpost was evolving into a thriving city, a thriving empire. But the Council had made one crucial mistake. They underestimated the humans' resourcefulness. They'd failed to see that humanity thrived in adversity. They'd failed to grasp that the more the galaxy tried to crush them, the more they adapted, evolved, and fought back. The Council had hoped that a planet like Terminus would keep humanity preoccupied, force them to become nothing more than survivalists, unable to develop further technologies or challenge galactic authority. Instead, they'd turned Terminus into a crucible that accelerated humanity's potential. And now, that potential was about to be unleashed. Captain David Chun stood before the massive viewport of the command center, watching as Terminus's twin moons cast long shadows over the city. The streets were alive with the hum of new machines, workers frantically building new weapons, new technologies. His eyes were bloodshot, the result of too many sleepless nights, but there was fire in them. He didn't need to say a word to his crew. They all felt it, that inevitable pull towards something larger than themselves. Ready? He asked, his voice calm. Born ready, sir, Lieutenant Rodriguez replied, flashing a grin that said more about their shared understanding than words ever could. The rest of the team nodded, the same fire in their eyes, the same excitement. The fight wasn't over. It had only just begun. In the lab, Dr. Patel's latest project was coming to fruition. The mirror shield had been their first major victory, redirecting the Council's own energy back at them. But they'd done more than survive. Patel had begun reverse engineering alien technology left behind on the wreckage of the defeated fleets, using it to enhance humanity's own capabilities. Ready for the next step? Wong asked, his voice bubbling with energy as he worked on the latest prototype. We've been ready, Dr. Patel replied, a gleam in her eyes that matched the brilliant spark of their new weapon. Let's give them something they never saw coming. The plan was simple, but audacious. If the Council thought they could suppress humanity by sending them to Terminus, humanity would show them just how wrong they were. The humans would take the fight directly to the heart of the Council's power, hitting them where it hurt, their very core, their home planets. With the technology they had seized, with the weapons they had perfected, humanity would no longer be content with just surviving. The first wave of ships, modified with alien technology and human ingenuity, surged into hyperspace, their mission clear: infiltrate Council space, disable their infrastructure, and strike directly at the heart of the galactic order. There would be no peace talks, no diplomatic meetings. The humans were no longer the exiled, broken species. They were a force to be reckoned with. The first strike hit the Council's capital without warning. The atmosphere was a mix of shock and awe as the once proud bastion of galactic power was plunged into chaos. Within hours, the Council's military command was in disarray. Their defenses, once thought impregnable, were no match for humanity's relentless assault. The Council's leaders scrambled to respond, sending every available fleet into the fray. But it was already too late. The humans had set their plan in motion, and nothing could stop them now. Back on Terminus, the colonists watched in silence as the first reports of victory came in. There were no celebrations yet, no cheers. The war was far from over. But one thing was clear: humanity had won the first battle, and they would win the next. Commander Patel stood atop the wall of Murphy's Landing, watching as the city, once a fragile outpost, continued to grow. Ships soared into the sky, bristling with new weapons and technologies, while below, soldiers and engineers prepared for the next phase of the campaign. They thought they could break us, she said softly to Wong, who stood beside her, looking out over the city's sprawl. They thought they could bury us. Instead, they've given us the chance to rise. Wong grinned. And rise we shall. Let's show them just how wrong they were. A distant explosion shook the ground, but this time, it was the sound of victory. The humans had taken the first step in their revolution, one that would echo across the galaxy. They had been exiled to a death world, but they had not just survived it. They had conquered it. And now, the galaxy would have to reckon with the true power of humanity.